Is MBA Finance completely useless? I came across a statement from the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank. In one of his speech, he has said this, that his MBA from Wharton is completely useless in his current role. Well, if you're evaluating your own situation, whether to go for MBA Finance or not, you should not take such a statement on face value. You should evaluate your own situation and think accordingly, right? Now he is a CEO of a bank. He has already achieved a lot, so his situation is quite different. His point of view may not be a representative of the point of views of many people who are still struggling to get a nice job, right? In fact, he would ask himself 30 years back when he was doing his MBA, probably he would get a different answer to that. My own view is that MBAs are still in demand. They're in my view, they're in pretty much high demand in the banking and financial world. So if you have an MBA in finance from a top business school, chances of you ending up getting a job at a large investment bank or a corporate bank or at a fintech or at a hedge fund, at an insurance firm, at private equity or VC firms is quite high. Simply because there is a good reputation attached to MBA Finance from top business schools. That's first. Second is that you have an amazing alumni network. So most of the top management people at large banks, they come from top business schools. So you tend to hire from your own school, own university. So that's something really helps. Other than that, the network really helps. So if you want to switch your career, you want to transition into something different, that's when your network will be extremely useful. So if you're going to do it from a top business school, I think in my view is you should go for that, as long as you are able to afford it, because some people go overboard, spend way too much money in doing an MBA from top business school, and that can be a bit risky. But if that is not the case for you, I think there is no reason why you shouldn't be going for or MBA in finance. Having said that, keep in mind that there are other alternate educations also in the field of finance. So you could do MBA, you could do MSc in finance or MSc in financial economics or MSc in financial engineering, mathematical finance, depending on what you want to do. If you want to do more business functions, you want to do front office roles, then go for MBA Finance. But if you want to do risk management, quantitative finance, compliance, legal, control activities, then go for MSc Finance, MSc Financial Economics. If you want to more into research roles, where you will be hardly interacting with clients directly, you don't need to go for MBA Finance or more expensive MBA Finance degrees. But even people coming from MBA Finance degree, I do see them in risk management departments, in quantitative departments, in support functions and so on, right? And even for front office roles, you can find people from non-MBA background working there. That's quite possible, especially in Europe. You see many from econometrics and economics background working as head of the departments of various investment and commercial banks. So that's always possible. MBA is not the only option, but to say that MBA is useless, I think is too strong a statement. I just felt that he probably was telling this in a context of something and not a statement that should be taken as is, but it has to be put into context, right? And if you are going for MBA Finance, I think, in my view, I think you go for reputed institutions, especially in some countries. If you're in India, I think if you do an MBA from not so well-known university, I think it will be a bit difficult to find the first job, which is perhaps the most difficult one to get. And for some of the jobs where you have a quite a bit of entry barrier, like private equity and venture capital. Then quite likely that you won't be able to make those jobs coming from a lower ranking MBA school. Not impossible, nothing is impossible, but that will be a lot more difficult. But if you're going for lower ranking universities, go for the government ones, the ones publicly funded. It's much cheaper and the quality is relatively better in my view. But the low ranking private universities in many countries are not necessarily very good, and you have to be very careful because they're expensive and the quality is not that good. Placements are not that good either. So what's the point? Like, why do you go for that, right? Some people go for just for prestige. I don't buy that argument. I don't know why MBA or having an MBA next to your name is prestigious. By no means that's prestigious. It's not like having a PhD degree or something. Nothing of that sort. You can't write a doctorate next to your name if you have an MBA, right? So that's not how you should look at it. You should think from a purely from a career point of view as to whether that's going to help you in a career or not, right? So to summarize, in my view, I think the top schools are still doing extremely well when it comes to providing employment opportunity to people. Expensive, no doubt, but the return on investment, at least the ones that I know, some of my friends, distant family members, seniors that went for MBA degrees in varieties of schools, mostly the good ones, they've been doing very, very well. So you should not take such statement on face value and then decide. Just because a CEO is saying, he's already a CEO, right? He won't be able to think from your point of view. Someone who is yet to start your career, someone who is still figuring out things, right? And one other thing is that maybe the academic teaching in MBA is somewhat less useful. But then academic teaching in any other academic program, whether it's MSc Finance, MSc whatever, or whatever other academic degree, is also less useful in the real world, right? If you study computer science, you don't use everything that you study in computer science when you work as a software engineer. A number of things that you study in computer science, for example, the algorithm data structure, automata theory, and all of that, you rarely use these things in the real world software development, unless you're working as big tech firms or you're working as a research scientist in those firms. You will not be using much of what you have studied in university in the real world. That's exactly what happens in other fields as well, right? In my view, in fact, MBA is more applied, right? You learn from case studies, you interact, and your soft skills are your soft skills are better after coming out of an MBA program. So that's something I would beg to disagree with the gentleman who has made this statement. Maybe it's for his own career, yes, and probably he's just trying to say that, okay, the formal education is less important in the world that we live in, especially with AI coming in a big way and disrupting things. But if somebody has to go for formal education, university education, MBA will definitely be useful, quite useful, especially if you are looking for a career in the real world, in the applied world, right? You are not going to be a professor or something. That's a different career track. But if you already worked in the industry, any industry, certainly in finance, MBA degrees are still quite popular and pretty useful. Anyway, thanks. Any questions, let me know.